Second section, the Honorable Administrative Judge, Honorable Chief Judge, Herman C. Douglas, and Associate Judges presiding. Ready, seated?
So welcome, everyone. Thank you. Again, we appear in our wonderful, newly dedicated, the Honorable Sheila R. Tillotson Adams Ceremonial Courtroom. And we're here for a wonderful event today for the investiture of Darren Sebastian Johnson. So on behalf of the Circuit Court judges, the Seventh Judicial Circuit judges, we're honored to preside over this matter today. We know Darren Johnson from being a magistrate. We know him to be committed, caring, compassionate, and knowledgeable, handling the family matters in the way that they should be. So we welcome you as you continue to hear family cases with us. So welcome. You can proceed. We'll start with the invocation.
Good afternoon. Honorable judges, magistrates, friends and family. What an honor when God calls us and places us where we can do justice, where we can ensure that justice is enshrined in mercy, all as we exude humility in our daily walk with God. Let us pray. God, we give you praise and honor, for we recognize that there is none like you in all the earth. You are the head of our lives, and even though sometimes we may resist, even though sometimes we may not recognize this, it doesn't change the fact that you alone are God. And so we lift up to you today, God, prayers of thanksgiving. We're giving you thanks for a system of justice that looks out for the people, your people, oh God. A system in which you place men and women to stand up for what is right and what is just. And so we pray for those who oversee the justice system of this county, of this state and of this country, God, that you may grant them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, so that as they pursue justice for the nation, for the country, for the individuals who stand before them, your mercy may be felt by all. I pray today for the son that you have brought to this court to be given greater responsibility only because he has carried so well to this point the responsibility given to him. To whom much is given, much is desired. Cover your servant Darren, Lord. And like Solomon, we ask you to give him wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but even much more than he can even ask or imagine. So that when he speaks with wisdom. When he When he judges with knowledge. And when he punishes with understanding. Be with us as we go through the proceedings of this evening. We pray that your presence may be felt in everything that is said and done. And that, oh God, we may give glory and honor to you as we proceed with this ceremony. In Jesus' name we ask this. Amen.
Amen.
We'll have Mr. Ademo, the former Executive Director of the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services, step forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
To the administrative judge, the honorable bench, fellow lawyers, to Johnson and your family. My name is Kunle Adeyemo. I am a former deputy legal counsel for Governor Hogan, and I am former executive director for the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services. During my time with Governor Hogan's legal office, people would often ask what it took to become a judge. And when people would ask me that question, whether it was when I was with the office or after I left, I often gave a pretty benign answer because it's not really easy to answer that question. Yeah, there are minimum thresholds, minimum desires and qualifications that we're looking for. And the legal office does a good job of working with the bench and the judiciary of vetting those qualifications. And often you can imagine that as lawyers, we often have a lot to say about everybody and everything. So there was never a dearth of opinions about that. But during my time with the legal office, I was very happy to find out and confirm my belief that Maryland is blessed and fortunate to have a deep bench of intelligent and eloquent and well-read legal minds. But that alone can't be the sole barometer of whether or not you can be a jurist, because there's just too many of you. Second, how one's viewed in their community, how one is viewed within the judiciary and the bench. Again, Maryland has a very large selection of lawyers who are cordial, collegial, and treat people with dignity and respect. So once again, that could not be the sole barometer of whether or not one could be a judge. The last aspect, which is why I think I always give such a benign answer, is that the governor had a very good vision of understanding that there was not one type of person he wanted for the bench. There's not one kind of Marylander. There's not one kind of citizen in the state. And what it takes for a courthouse to run is having diversity of person and thought. The cacophony of a courthouse requires somewhat of a quilt, not a blanket, where different people with different strengths and different backgrounds come together and help to make very, very difficult decisions, because the days that people spend here are not just a day of work for the judiciary. It's one of the most important days for that person that's usually sitting on that other side of the bench. So I think that the governor had a very good mind of making sure that the bench reflected Maryland, and there was not one type of Marylander or one type of lawyer that he would select to join these hollowed benches that are behind me. With that said, when speaking about Judge Johnson, his colleagues said that he has an excellent demeanor. He treats each litigant with respect and dignity without showing bias to either party. He's also known to listen to litigants and answer their questions in a manner that they are satisfied with. And even when they're not getting the result that they desire, they still feel heard. He's often very quick to help and is one that is quick to volunteer, which I think is going to be very, very helpful to the bench. With that said, his background, his Latino, African Latino heritage, all of that together makes Judge Johnson an excellent selection and a welcome addition to the Prince George's County bench. And with that said, I'm going to read the commission from Governor Hogan. Governor of the State of Maryland, Darren S. Johnson, Esquire, greetings. Having trust and confidence in your integrity, prudence, and ability, you are hereby appointed and commissioned as an associate judge of the Circuit Court of Maryland, 7th Circuit, Prince George's County, to sit in the general election of November 2024, to execute the duties of said position with fidelity and zeal for the interest and advantage of the state of Maryland, and signed and sealed by Governor Hogan. And here you go, Judge Johnson, and congratulations.
Thank you. Now we'll have a presentation to the court by Paul B. Eason, a family magistrate here in Prince George's County.
May it please the court, after I had finished preparing my written remarks, Judge Johnson came up to me and said, look, keep it short. And so I've been able to pare it down to, I think, about 40 minutes. And I think, in any event, shortly after Governor Larry Hogan appointed then Magistrate Darren Johnson to a judgeship on our circuit court, I ran into him in the courthouse parking garage. We exchanged good mornings, and then he said to me, quote, "You can say no, but I would be honored if you would speak at my investiture." To which I replied, "No, the honor would be mine." So Judge Johnson, thank you for bestowing this honor on me and allowing me to be a part of this grand celebration. Psalm 118 captures this moment perfectly. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. Your wonderful wife, Rose, your parents, Donna and Delia Johnson, the magistrates, your new circuit court colleagues, we are all proud of you. You are an excellent magistrate, and I have no doubt that you will be a distinguished jurist, exhibiting true fidelity to the law, deciding cases without passion or prejudice, welcoming all who come before you, and making our court a fair forum for justice. For those of you who may not be familiar with Judge Johnson's background, he is a purebred, unvarnished Prince Georgian. He attended Langley Park Elementary, Buck Lodge Middle School, Kettering Middle School, graduating from Largo Senior High School. That's quite a pedigree. Truth to tell, I did not know Judge Johnson prior to his selection as a family magistrate in February of 2018, but I will never forget the joy and pride that Judge Johnson's wife and parents radiated at that first investiture just a short 5 years ago. After joining our family division, Judge Johnson immediately impressed me with his work ethic and his desire to learn everything he needed to know to be an effective family magistrate. He was invariably carrying around the family law article or the latest edition of Faders every time I ran into him. I can assure everyone that in the all too brief time that he was with us, Judge Johnson earned the respect of our bench and bar. Judge Johnson is polite, unassuming, unfailingly pleasant, and respectful to the lawyers and litigants that appear before him. For those of you who may not be conversant with a magistrate's docket, it is a high volume operation where at least 80% of the litigants have no lawyer. As you might imagine, this poses special challenges to the court. Thankfully, Judge Johnson likes to stay busy, and he was a quick study in time and case management. When other magistrates needed assistance with their docket, he was always willing to lend a helping hand. He's a team player. You will never hear him say, "That's not my job." Today's investiture generates mixed emotions. We magistrates are going to miss our colleague, but at the same time are elated that a good and decent and honorable man has been elevated to a circuit court judgeship. And I might add that it takes a very special person to get through the Judicial Nominating Commission and be appointed a circuit court judge on the first try. Clearly, Judge Johnson's numerous qualities were apparent to the commission and to Governor Hogan, and true talent was recognized and rewarded. So, Judge Johnson, congratulations on your well-deserved appointment. You've only just begun.
Thank you, Magistrate Easton. We will now have Donald S. Johnson Sr. Jr., Esquire, do a presentation to the court. Welcome.
If it please the court. Good afternoon. I was given 2 instructions today. Don't cry and watch my language. Every parent wants their child to do well. We're put on this earth, and when you raise a child, you don't know what direction they're going to go, but you will always support them. Darren never told me he wanted to be an attorney. I guess he saw me, and for some reason he said, well, I'm not going to be a doctor, so I may as well be a lawyer. I don't know what went through his mind. But I can say this. I know from my personal experience, my wife played a great part of who I am. And I acknowledge Rose, who has been by her man, Judge Johnson, all these years. I can say this about Judge Johnson. I've noticed he's dedicated. You don't say anything, you just watch and observe. Over the years, I make my little snide remarks, and he graduates from high school, graduates from undergrad, graduates from law school, passes the bar, gets married. He does all of these things. And I always said, that's my boy. One day, it came to me. It was something he said, something he did. I said, that's my man. I didn't say it when he graduated from school. I didn't graduate when he got married. But there were things that he did, things that he said. When I said, that's my man. And I say that's my man because he has shown maturity. He has shown dedication. And I was trying to search for a word that would describe what it felt like when we received the news that he was selected. And all I could think about was immensity. And it's a great burden being a judge. Everybody thinks it's a
bowl of gravy is easy, but it's not. To a large extent, you control and affect the lives of many here in Prince George's County. And by the way, he was the one who corrected me. It's not that other word. It's Prince George's County, by the way. I will say this, that I fully expect for my son, Darren Sebastian Johnson, to be an outstanding jurist here in Prince George's County Circuit Court. Thank you.
Okay, and we're honored to have with us today the Deputy Clerk of the Court, Gary Mobley, will do the oath of office. Thank you. Come on up. We'll have the robing of the judge. Do the oath first.
You have to raise your right hand. Put your left hand. You're going to say I, and then you can state your full name. Then you'll be that. I, state your full name.
Darren Sebastian Johnson,
Do swear
do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will
and that I will
be faithful and bear true allegiance
be faithful and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of
execute the office of
Associate Judge for the Circuit Court of Prince George's County,
Associate Judge for the Circuit Court of Prince George's County,
7th Judicial Circuit
7th Judicial Circuit
of Maryland,
of Maryland,
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and the laws of this state,
and the laws of this state,
and that I will not directly
and that I will not directly
or indirectly
or indirectly
receive the profits or any part of the profits
receive the profits or any part of the profits
in any office during the term of my associate judge.
in any office during the term of my gotta hit that
Associate judge.
term as associate judge. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we'll now have Rose Johnson and Delia Johnson step up for the robing.
A robe, but not my robe.
Not the light blue. Right. Now we'll have remarks from the Honorable Johnson.
So it's my turn. Judge Johnson, that just sounds funny. Let me thank Pastor Bevan White, Magistrate Eason, Kunle Adeyemo. Thank you for the remarks. Thank you for the prayers, blessing the ceremony. Thank you, Dad. You know, when you're putting something together like this program, you submit a name and it's, Donald Johnson Sr. And they said, well, does he have a title? And I was like, well, he's my dad, you know, and that's the only title he needs. And I think that's the only title he's going to want today. But before I start down the road of thank yous, let me give a little attention to what type of approach I'm gonna bring to the bench. You know, there's a saying that a man makes the clothes don't make the man. And putting on this robe is not going to change who I am. The principles I've lived by that have brought me to this point and has brought everyone here today. You know, during the interview process, they ask you, a consistent question is, well, what judge are you going to be like? And I'd say, well, I'm gonna be like me. And they said, well, it's not anyone you're gonna be like, and they press you on it. And I remember a colleague told me when I was training as a magistrate, you know, when it's your time, do it your way. And I've done it my way. And my way is to know that when people enter the courthouse, they want three things. They want to be respected, they want to be heard, and they want to be treated fairly. So I've done that from day one, and this is not going to change me. When you have to operate in a courtroom, you have to have patience, and that's patience for everyone. Patience for lawyers, litigants, clerks, bailiffs, sheriffs, anyone that interacts with the courtroom, you have to show some patience. And I've been able to do that, and I'm going to continue to do that as my time on the bench. And, you know, continue down sort of that path of what I'm going to bring to the bench. As a Black man with Latino heritage, I know what it means to know your community. And I've been in this community all my life. And so I know the difference of sometimes simple things, knowing the intricacies of the culture, that all Spanish language is not the same. And sometimes it's not even Spanish, it's Mosquito, which is a Native American language. And to know those things helps you on the bench. To know that a single mom or a single aunt or uncle raising a child is a strong family unit. So I have, you know, carried those things with me that I think will be invaluable to the bench and to the community. As I transition to the thank you portion, which is the majority of this speech, I want to thank my wife, Rose, who is an extraordinary woman. You know, the saying is, for behind every good man, there's a great woman. I say, you know, beside every good man, there's a great woman. And she's been by my side since day one, and I love her for it. She's funny, she's intelligent, she has a great laugh that can light up a room. We've gotten free meals off of it, you know, after this. You can ask her and she'll tell you. That laugh has paid for a lot of drinks and dinner since we've been together. On this occasion, the hardest thing is to know where to end, because where to start is easy. I start with the judges of the 7th Judicial Circuit. 5 years when they entrusted me to serve this community. It set me on the path to this appointment. Specifically, Administrative Judge Danica Varner-Cotton, who entrusted me with this, and she saw something as far as my purpose, my skills, and my fit for this court would be a benefit to the court. And people say it is. I don't know, but that's what they say. So I thank you, judges, now my colleagues, for this opportunity to set me on this path, this appointment. I think about a quote from Booker T. Washington, and it goes, a few things help an individual more than to place responsibility upon him and let him know that you trust him. And when they appointed me to the position of family magistrate, they trusted me with the lives of the community. And I take that seriously, and I will continue to take it seriously as a member of the bench. I also want to thank Governor Hogan, who entrusted me worthy of this appointment. I am forever grateful that he saw that I had the skills, the knowledge, and temperament to serve the citizens of Maryland. And for a little trivia, I was the last judicial interview he ever had, and I was the last judicial appointment he ever had. So if somebody ever asked you, well, who was the last appointment made by Governor Larry Hogan? Well, that's Darren Sebastian Johnson. That's easy. So you know, when I got the call from the governor, you know, people are congratulating and saying thank you. And I always use the pronoun we instead of I, because an accomplishment like this is a we thing. And if you have the program, there's a quote from Thurgood Marshall, and it says, "None of us got where we are solely by pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We got here because somebody, a parent, a teacher, an HBCU crony, and a few nuns bent down and helped us pull up our boots." Now, for the record, I changed Ivy League to HBCU, but that's a me thing. And I reference this quote because the collective we has helped me get here in my career. You know, so many people, and you may be a little offended, cover years for this, but I'm a kid from PG County, right? and I grew up in PG County for a little bit, and I was raised in the finest institutions the county had to offer. As Magistrate Easton pointed out, Langley Park Elementary School, Buck Lodge Middle School, Kettering Middle School, and the wonderful Largo Senior High School. I eventually matriculated to the real HU, and if you don't know what that is, that's Howard University. And after that, the wonderful David A. Clark School of Law and the University of the District of Columbia. And during that time, I met so many wonderful people that poured into me, that helped me get to where I am today. And for those people that have influenced my life in one way or the other, I thank you. You know, when you walk these halls, there's pictures hanging up of jurists past and present. And they have a little biography, but you don't always know what goes behind the picture. And I think everyone here needs to take acknowledgement that you helped. When you see my picture up there, you helped me achieve that goal. So when you walk into that courthouse and you see my face, it's a we thing, not a me thing. I've been blessed in life. And when I think about being blessed, I think about the kindness bestowed upon me. One of my wife's co-workers, Mary Ann, her mother, Doris, when I was taking the bar exam, she sent me a note that I cherish to this day because she understood what it takes to pass the bar. And just little notes like that and kindness from people is something I will never forget. You know, I didn't think I'd be crying at this point, but you know, people hit me up. You know, I try to save it for certain parts, but you know, here I am. When I think of my legal career, there are lawyers like Jonathan Hoover, that was a mentor that showed me what it means to be a good lawyer and a zealous advocate for your clients. I think of loyal colleagues that I've had, Veronica Johnson, Donica Stantz, and Nicholas Wellham, you know, people that I can call that'll stay up to 4 a.m. going over my judicial application with me. Those are people that you make connections with and you don't forget. And when you don't forget them, they don't forget you. I think of my colleagues, Magistrate Easton, Magistrate Rogers, Magistrate Wright, Howman Adams, Magistrate Stewart Jones, and Magistrate Ferguson, who were always willing to share their knowledge and their skills with me whenever it was needed. I think of the many magistrates around the state that have been able to conference with and meet. I will cherish our bond of our uniquely shared experience forever. And I don't want to forget the lawyers that have come before me that have kept me on my toes, whether it be the Office of Child Support or other lawyers around the state. Your dedication to the law and your craft has made me a good magistrate and will continue to make me a good judge. You know, when I think about family, you know, I think about our wedding. There were 350 people at our wedding. And I can't remember half of them. I just know they were family. But you know, when you have an American, Panamanian, and Nicaraguan family, they show you love and you get an understanding of what family means. And people have always been kind to me. I think of cousins like Maria Anderson, who has always been willing to step in and help in times of grief and in times of joy. I think of my cousins, the Hanson boys, excuse me, Johnny, Julio, Javier, Jose, Jacinto. I think of my cousin Gary Stevens, who, hey, you know, something's going on with my car. Can you check it out? He always there to check it out. I think of my softball teammates from Costa Caribe to Old Bank for trusting me to be a part of their team. I think of friends like Dustin and Ira Hudson, Dennis and Edwin Campbell, Nick and Clint Edmond, Sean Ellis, Raleigh Thompson, Miguel Mouton, you know, so many people that have helped me in life by just being a friend. And I thank you. So bear with me a little bit. I'm gonna wrap this up in just a while. I wanna thank my courthouse family, and that is the family division. And if you don't know about the family division led by Miss Melinda Jackson, it is the best thing going in the courthouse, right? It is the best thing going. And I'm gonna miss you. I'll see you here and there, but I will miss you, the everyday interactions we have. One thing you know about me is I'm a very subdued person, you know, especially when it comes to accomplishments for me. You know, it's whatever, right? But the thing that gets me excited is having other people excited. And when I find out that the family division is excited, the administrative aides, the clerks, the bailiffs, the interpreters, the administrative office of the courts, you know, people are calling that are genuinely excited. I got a little excited. And if you can't tell, I'm just a little bit excited right now. A wise man told me that compassion and loyalty are the two greatest spiritual values you have to have. And they will be demanded of me regularly in this job. And that touched me because that's something I have taken through my life. Compassion and loyalty are very big to me. And I have tried to show it in every walk of life. As I always say, I said at my wedding, I say at any occasion, if I call you a friend, you're always a friend to me. And before I get too far, it would be a disservice to everything I stand for if I didn't give special recognition to one Stephanie Logan. Stephanie has been the best administrative aide you could ever have. And she knew from day one what my goals were. And she has been aligned with those goals since day one. I remember, you know, after she worked for me a couple months, she would say, you know, why don't you have anything on your wall? Why don't you have anything on your wall? And I gave her the same answer, because I don't plan to be here long. And so, so here we are. And Stephanie, I could go on for hours about the help you've been, but I just want you to know I am forever indebted to you. Thank you. You know, I thanked my wife earlier, and I told you how wonderful she is. I mentioned cousins. I want to thank my delightful niece, Ava, because she's my baby and she's great. I want to thank my, I want to thank my loving sister, because she, don't worry, you know, don't worry, I don't forget about you. I get to everybody out here, don't worry. I want to thank my Uncle Z. He instilled in me to be unapologetic about who I am and to and what I represent in life. And for that, I am forever grateful. Now this is the part where I thought I might get a little emotional, but it came early. I wish my brother was here. Unfortunately, he died August 8th, 2016. And when I think about brother, I think of when he was at Morgan State. He called me one day, and I'm 13 or 14, and he gets off the phone. He's like, "I love you." And he always said that. And he always believed in telling people that are your friends, that you love them. And anyone here who's a friend of mine or a colleague, thank you. I love you. If I haven't said it, I love you. And don't be afraid to tell your brothers, your friends that you love them, because you never know what is going to happen in life. But I take that for my brother, and I carry that with me every day. Lastly, I want to thank Donald and Delia Johnson. They gave me the tools and the foundation to become the man I am here today. And if you, and I'm sorry, it's just overcoming me, but if you ever have the pleasure of meeting Delia Johnson, you have met one of the greatest examples of a Christian you will ever meet in your life. My mother always instilled in us three things: prayer, patience, and perseverance. And that's something that I carry to this day in any challenge I have in life. My father, no, my father's different. But my father, you know, if there's anything good or bad, he gets the call. You know, anything good or bad, he gets the first call. I'm sorry, Rose, but he gets the first call. And I think of two particular conversations with my father. One is when I was messing around in undergrad, and he had a stern conversation with me with language that's not fit for public consumption. But he pretty much said, get out of school, and I was out of school. And the other one I think about is when I was taking the bar, the second day of the bar, and me, I'm always hard on myself. I always think I could do better no matter what I do. And I'm like, Dad, and this is in the parking lot of CVS and Greenbelt Road. And I remember this call. I'm like, Daddy, I don't know what I did there earlier. He said, you did fine. Go back. You'll do fine. Turns out I did do fine. That's why I'm here. But I think about those things. And, you know, lastly, I think about, you know, my dad, you know, being a lawyer. He would come home every day. And first of all, let me tell you, my dad is a people's lawyer. He would take, you know, food and rojita over actual payment, you know? So, you know, that's the thing he did that, you know, if you don't have the money, that's fine. He'll take care, you know, just take care of him some other way. Nonetheless, I remember when I was a kid and he would come home and I'm like, Dad, did we win? And he was like, yeah, we won. And I felt good, my chest out, and I'm like, oh, we won today. We won today. It's a great day. And as you grow up, you realize you don't win every day. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. But Dad, we won. We won. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to recognize the circuit court judges who sit here to my right. We have some in the back as well. And I appreciate them being here today as we welcome Judge Johnson. I also would like to recognize and thank Judge Herman Dawson, Judge Sean Wallace, Judge William Snoddy, and Judge Carol Kader for sitting here and presiding over this matter with me today. So we were elated to have you as a magistrate, and we are honored now to have you as a judge. We've seen firsthand what you can do, and we can't wait to be on this ride with you. So thank you all. Let's have the benediction. Thank you. We'll ask for Reverend White to step forward. We'll do the benediction. Thank you.
Congratulations, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Our prayers are always with you, and our presence as you journey is a pleasure to give to you as well, our congregation.
Thank you.
What a wonderful evening, friends. What a lovely occasion. What a proud moment for every single one of us. The county has gained and we all are blessed. Receive the benediction. The grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the love of God, the Father, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit, who comforts us, rest, remain, and abide with all of us from this moment and forevermore. Amen.
All right. Second, judge of the county, hereby join.